Okay, that sound. Beep, beep, beep. You know the one. The alarm.
Mm. That morning call.
And for, well, probably most of us listening, the
Yeah.
immediate reaction is tap, snooze.
Oh, yeah. That little negotiation. Just
Yeah.
a few more minutes, right? In the warm bed. It feels like you're grabbing some extra rest.
It really does. And it's such a common thing, that hazy moment with the phone or the clock.
Quickly relatable. Very human.
Exactly. Which is why we wanted to dig into it today. There's actually some pretty fascinating new research that quantified this whole snoozing habit.
Right. This isn't just guesswork. It's a proper study led by researchers at Mass General Brigham.
And the scale of it is, well, it's pretty impressive. They use data from the Sleep Cycle app.
Yeah, get this, over 3 million nights of sleep data from
Wow.
more than 21,000 people across the globe. So, it's a really solid data set.
Absolutely. So our plan today is to really unpack the science here. Is that snooze button actually helping us, giving us that little extra bit of useful sleep?
Or is it maybe hindering us, making things worse?
Exactly. Could it be counterproductive? The findings are um, maybe a bit surprising.
Definitely worth exploring.
Okay, so let's jump right in. How many people are actually doing this? How common is hitting snooze?
Well, the numbers are quite high, actually. The study found that in more than half, over 50% of all the sleep sessions they looked at,
Over half.
yep, over half ended with someone hitting the snooze button at least once. So if you're a snoozer, you are definitely not alone.
That's huge. It's basically normal behavior for a lot of folks.
Very prevalent. And they even identified a specific group, didn't they? The heavy users.
They did. What defined a heavy user?
So around 45% of the participants fell into this category. These are people who hit snooze on more than 80% of their mornings.
80%. Wow, that's almost every single day for nearly half the people.
Yeah, consistently starting the day with that sort of fragmented wake up.
And how much time are we talking about? What's the average time spent in that snooze zone?
Good question. Across everyone who snoozed, the average was about 11 minutes each morning.
Okay, 11 minutes.
But for those heavy users, the ones hitting it almost every day, it bumps up significantly. They averaged around 20 minutes of snoozing per day.
20 minutes. That really adds up over a week, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Nearly half an hour each morning, just in that snooze state. And like you said, this was all published in scientific reports of peer-reviewed journals, so it's credible stuff.
Right. So 11 minutes, 20 minutes, it feels like we're getting something useful, right? A little
Mm.
bonus rest.
Mhm.
But what's the actual science say? Especially about our sleep stages. Because sleep experts usually advise against snoozing.
Yeah, that's the real crux of the issue.
What's the reason?
Well, the study's lead author, Dr. Rebecca Robbins, she's an expert in sleep, points out that snoozing can seriously mess with crucial sleep stages.
Okay. How so?
See, in the hours right before we naturally wake up, our sleep is typically very rich in REM sleep.
The dream sleep.
Exactly. REM sleep. It's vital for, cognitive function, memory consolidation, emotional regulation. Really important stuff.
So hitting snooze interrupts that specific important phase.
Precisely. When you hit snooze and drift back off, you're generally not going back into deep restorative sleep or even productive REM. It's usually very light, fragmented sleep.
So not really quality rest then.
Not at all. It's poor quality. And while you might feel like you're getting more sleep, it's not the beneficial kind. In fact, it can often make that groggy feeling worse.
You mean sleep inertia. That foggy headedness when you finally drag yourself out of bed.
That's the one. Snoozing can actually prolong and intensify that feeling.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It feels like you're waking up multiple times in a way.
Kind of, yeah. It's a
But-
very jolting way to exit sleep.
Now, the study also looked at when people snooze. Were there patterns, like different days of the week?
Yes, they found a clear pattern there. Snooze usage was higher during the work week, Monday through Friday,
Right.
and then it dipped noticeably on Saturdays and Sundays.
That kind of fits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
More pressure to get up at a specific time during the week for work or school.
Yeah, fixed schedules. Maybe snoozing feels like a gentler way to ease into the day's demands when you have to get up.
Could be. Weekends often mean more flexibility, maybe waking up more naturally.
That seems like a very reasonable interpretation. They also found something else interesting, maybe a bit counterintuitive.
Oh,
What was that? People who consistently slept for 5 hours or less per night, they actually tended to snooze less.
really?
Yeah.
Less. You'd think someone sleep deprived would want every extra second, even snooze seconds.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But the researchers suggested maybe these short sleepers just feel they don't have time to snooze.
Like Their schedule is already so tight, snoozing isn't an option they prioritize.
That was their hypothesis, yeah. It might be a case of necessity, gotta get up, no time for delays overriding that desire for a bit more dozing.
Interesting. And did they link heavy snoozing to anything else? Like sleep schedules?
They did notice a connection. Heavy snoozing often went hand in hand with more erratic or inconsistent sleep schedules overall.
Okay, so maybe less of a stable sleep-wake rhythm for the frequent snoozers? That paints a picture.
It does suggest a potential link, yeah.
Now, you mentioned this was a global study using the app data. Did they see any differences between countries?
They did. It's always fascinating to see cultural variations in habits like this.
So who are the biggest snoozers?
The countries with the highest reported snooze button use were the US, Sweden, and Germany.
Okay. US, Sweden, Germany. And on the other end, lowest use.
That would be Japan and Australia. They showed the lowest rates among the countries studied.
Huh. Japan and Australia, that's quite a contrast.
It really is. Makes you wonder why, doesn't it?
Definitely. Is it work culture? General attitudes towards sleep? Morning routines?
The study itself didn't really dig into the reasons for these differences, unfortunately.
Ah,
So it leaves us with an interesting observation, but no firm answers on the why. It's definitely something that could use more research.
for sure. Suggests our relationship with the alarm clock isn't purely personal. Maybe some cultural factors are involved.
Seems plausible.
Okay, so pulling all this together,
Hmm.
what's the main message for us? For someone listening who, relies on that snooze button? What's the expert advice?
It comes back to Dr. Robbins' recommendation, really. It's pretty straightforward.
Which is?
Aim to set your alarm for the absolute latest time you need to wake up, the actual time you need to get your feet on the floor.
Okay, no buffer time built in for snoozing.
Exactly. Set it for the real deadline. And then here's the hard part. For many, when that first alarm goes off, commit to getting out of bed.
Just get up. Resist the snooze.
Resist the snooze. That's the advice.
Easier said than done. I know I struggle with that
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely. It takes discipline.
Right,
But the thinking behind it is clear.
right. Prioritize getting enough consolidated sleep beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Good quality, uninterrupted sleep.
And then, when it's time to wake up fully. Avoid those fragmented bits of light sleep that don't really help. It might even make you feel worse.
Precisely. It's about maximizing the benefit of the sleep you do get and signaling clearly to your body that the sleep period is over. Time to start the day.
Which hopefully leads to less grogginess and feeling more alert.
That's the goal, yeah. A smoother transition to wakefulness.
Okay. Now, just quickly, let's give credit to the team. Who else was involved in this research besides Dr. Robbins?
Sure. From Mass General Brigham, there was also Matthew D. Weaver, Stuart F. Kwan, and Charles A. Zeisler.
Okay.
And collaborators from other institutions included Daniel Safe and Michael Gradisar.
Got it. And any disclosures or funding we should know about, just for context?
Yeah, it's always good practice. Dr. Robbins noted receiving personal fees from some companies in the sleep, tech, and hospitality space and serving on advisory boards.
Right.
And the study itself got some support, in-kind contributions and payment of the publication fee from Sleep Cycle.
The app whose data they used. Okay, good to know.
Standard disclosures.
So let's wrap this up. The big takeaway seems to be that snooze button, while incredibly tempting and super common,
Super common.
it probably isn't doing you any favors in terms of actual rest.
Right. It's more likely disrupting those final important sleep stages and maybe even making you feel more sluggish, not less.
And the expert advice: set one alarm for when you truly need to get up.
And then commit to getting up with it. Skip the snooze cycle.
Okay, so as you're listening now, maybe think about your own morning habits. Are you reaching for that snooze button instinctively?
Yeah, consider this research. Knowing this, might you try something different tomorrow morning?
What could you potentially gain? Maybe a slightly clearer head, a few extra minutes of focused wakefulness instead of that hazy, fragmented state.
It's definitely food for thought as you set that alarm tonight. Worth considering, anyway.